Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everybody here. Thank you for lending me your ear. I would like to send a special thanks to the committee at Mas'aleh for this very kind and generous invitation and for going above and beyond to help facilitate this opportunity to speak to you all amidst attempts to silence me and others. Many of you are aware of the reasons why I could not be with you in person, but I would like to express a special gratitude to Mas'aleh to ensure that I will not be silent. And I want to expand on this particular theme in the midst of certain rumors that have been spreading, that there are some who are feeling fatigue in this pursuit of righteousness, feeling fatigue in this pursuit for justice, feeling fatigue as they mobilize for the sake of an oppressed people who are pleading with everybody to mobilize on their behalf in order to end the heinous genocide and occupation that is taking place. For those who feel fatigue at having to constantly boycott and protest and raise their voices, for a people who are struggling to protest and boycott and raise their voices amidst the bombs that are being dropped on Gaza and on Palestine and on the West Bank by a genocidal apartheid regime that is trying to seize their lands illegally in contravention of all moral and international law. And I want to address those who feel fatigue by telling you about an ummah that made an extraordinary difference over the past 2 years. I want to tell you about an ummah that roared so loudly for the sake of those who are oppressed, that roared so loudly against injustice, that every single poll in the United States of America now shows that Republicans and Democrats, the majority on both sides, now sympathize more with the Palestinians than they do with the genocidal Israelis. About an ummah that roared so loudly that it managed to break all of the algorithms on social media and force the genocidal regime to gather $50 billion to try to buy TikTok and CBS, to try to re-establish control over the flow of information towards the Americans, because your roar was so loud, your messaging was so loud, your voice was so loud that it broke all of the filters that they had imposed on the American people, causing an irresistible momentum that was so great. It resulted in Mamdani winning in New York against the Democrat and Republican establishment that sought to ally against him and against the Democratic base and against the Republican base and against the conservative base, who are tired of an establishment that puts Israel first over America first. Those who realized that Israel first was being taken priority over America first as a result of your roar, as a result of you speaking, as a result of you tweeting, as a result of you sharing. I want to tell you about an ummah that as a result of boycotting caused such an impact on the genocidal economy of the so-called Israeli state that Netanyahu had to come out and say that he needs to establish an autarky because the world, quote, is listening to these Palestinian voices, and that companies began to leave the Israelis. Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund began to divest from the Israelis. Danish Sovereign Wealth Fund began to divest from the Israelis. And when the Israel First lobby of America sought to bully Congress into trying to pass a bill to ban the boycott of Israeli products, when they tried to pass a bill in Congress to fine anybody caught boycotting the Israeli products with $1 million fine and potential jail term of 10 years, it was Marjorie Taylor Greene who stepped in to have that bill removed because she was outraged at the manner in which Israel First was coming at the expense of America First. It had been brought to her attention how vile and malicious this lobby was acting in a manner that was averse even to American interests, and therefore she stepped in to remove that bill. Who delivered that information? Which ummah delivered that information? Which allies of this ummah delivered that information? It's an ummah that kept moving even when it felt tired. It's an ummah that kept moving even when it felt like it wasn't making much gains. It's an ummah that kept moving for no other reason than that it believed it was the right thing to do when you're seeing the changes that are taking place. I want to tell you about an ummah that roared so loudly, it made the Israel First come after American freedoms. It made the Israel First lobby go after US citizens and threaten naturalized citizens with withdrawing their passports, and then dragged American citizens through the courts in Michigan and Nevada, those who are associated with American Muslims for Palestine, to try to silence their voices because they were terrified that because you're so loud, because you keep going, because you won't stop moving, Americans are listening, and when Americans hear your voice versus the propaganda being pushed by the genocidal regime, they're believing you over the genocidal regime. The ADL, part of the Israeli lobby, openly said that, quote, "We have lost an entire generation. Israel has lost an entire generation." The head of the ADL told the Knesset of the genocidal regime that they need to buy TikTok because they're losing a whole generation. We saw Obama's former speechwriter say we need to take the phones away from Jews because, quote, "when we're talking to them, we're talking through a carnage of dead babies." They're losing even their own Jewish population, who in their hearts that Allah has put a fitrah in, where they are able to recognize the injustice of what's happening to the Palestinians. They can no longer win over the new generation of Jews who are seeing the injustice take place, and their hearts are inclined towards the justice that is associated with the Palestinians. All of this is because of an ummah that moves, an ummah that mobilizes. They drag US citizens through courts in Michigan and Nevada. The judges in Michigan and Nevada said that American citizens have the right to stand with the Palestinians against the genocidal regime. Then they went after green cards like Mahmoud Khalil and the like, and they have failed in getting him deported from the United States, as judges rule that he also has the right to freedom of speech. Then they went after student visa, Rumeisa Ozturk and Mohsen Mehdawi of Colombia and these others, trying to silence and scare people to stop them talking. Because when you talk, Americans listen. When they hear the half, Americans are moved. When they hear the half, American heart split from darkness to light. They move from genocide to pro-Palestinian. This is an attempt to silence you. And this is why I argue that this fatigue that you are feeling is not a fatigue because somehow you are losing. It's not a fatigue in that you're not making gains. It's not a fatigue in the sense that somehow the Zionist lobby is so strong. We are realizing it's no longer as strong as we once thought, and that in the space of 2 years, because an ummah that chose to move, you are making an entire difference, whereby you were so loud that the UK government heard you and recognized Palestine. The French government heard you and recognized Palestine. The Spanish government heard you and recognized Palestine. The Canadian government heard you and they recognized Palestine. They looked at the supposed material superiority of the genocidal regime versus the roar of the ummah that resonated so deeply with non-Muslims who have fitrah in their hearts, who resonate with humanity, who resonate with the call of justice and righteousness. And they all said, despite this material superiority of the genocide, we're going to go along with this roar, we're hearing the message, we're going to go along with the shift in public opinion. And now you can see that it's the Zionists who are on the back foot. Now, as I speak to you at this time, there is a tentative ceasefire that is taking place in Gaza that the Zionists are trying to break. The UN has voted for an international force. But look at the dynamics of this international force. The Zionists are no longer having it their way. Do you think that the Zionists wanted a ceasefire? No. Do you think they wanted international force in Gaza? No. They're losing control and they are in hysteria over why they are losing control as they wrestle with Erdogan in Turkey over the composition of the international force, out of fear that if Turkish troops are sent into Gaza, then the dream of the genocidal regime to annex Gaza will never happen. And more important than that, let me tell you about an ummah that was genocided for 2 years and bombed for 2 years, and still the Israelis could not take Gaza. Still they could not take Palestine. Still they could not erase them. Still they could not drive them from their land. Still they could not ethnically cleanse them. Still the Palestinian is there. Still the Palestinian breathes. Still the Palestinian is alive. Still the Palestinian stands strong. Still the Palestinian raises their voice. And still the Palestinian calls on you to continue moving, to continue raising your voice, to continue mobilizing, to continue pushing through, to continue to break this genocidal lobby and save not only Palestine, but to save America and the rest of the world. America, which is under attack from the Israeli lobby. America, which sees an Israel First lobby tell a US veteran to freeze and die homeless in Magnificent Mile in Chicago because $14 billion of Congress should go to genocidal Israelis first before it goes to that homeless. Save America from an Israel First lobby that insists that 42 million Americans who are on SNAP benefits should go struggling to make ends meet because billions of dollars need to be given first to the Israelis to give them free health care and allow them to continue to commit genocide. genocide. Save America from an Israel First lobby that demands that Americans go bankrupt in trying to pay medical bills and college bills because Congress prioritizes giving billions not to help Americans pay their medical bills, but to give it to the Israeli apartheid regime instead, to commit genocide and to try to occupy territory that does not belong to it. Save America and keep moving. It is not fatigue that you are feeling, but rather this is the sense of struggle that we are having. And let no one tell you that we are losing. Palestine is winning, justice is winning, and the world will be saved as long as you keep moving from this Israel First lobby that seeks to burn the whole world for a genocidal dream of erasing another people. We will keep moving, inshallah. Move, ya ibadallah. Don't stop moving. Be part of an ummah that keeps moving, and let none of you ever say that you're feeling tired. For wallahi, the path of Allah is not one that is tired. The path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one in which we keep struggling for what's right. We keep struggling for what is good. To do what is good is worth it. Remember, Allah has already decreed the result. We're just jostling for a position in which Allah uses us to bring about that victory so that we are not left humiliated. Allah will liberate Palestine. I'm not worried about that, but rather I pray that Allah uses me and uses you on that path to liberation. May Allah bless you all. Jazakum Allah alf khair. And inshallah, next year I may even join you in person.